Is the camera on?
Yep. Everyone else is off screen.
I'll introduce the meeting and I'll welcome people in and then.
Okay.
And according to Jennifer, the live stream is live now. So although the meeting hasn't started.
Great.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for attending tonight's neighborhood meeting for the Bradburn Village mixed-use building at 4188 Main Street in the Bradburn community. My name is Stephanie Ashman. I am a senior planner with the City of Westminster and the project planner that has gone through the first level of review on this application. Tonight, the city will be helping facilitate this meeting, and the applicant above, I'll have them introduce themselves, will be presenting to you this evening. This is their opportunity to connect with the community, let you all know about what their project is, show you what their plans are, and you can ask as many questions as you would like. Again, we're here just to facilitate this evening. And I'll give you a little bit of information on process as well. So I will do the presentation flipping through. So Jonathan, if you just want to tell me when next slide is, or Dan, please go ahead and introduce yourselves. I'm going to pop myself off camera and go ahead and take it away.
Thanks.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining tonight. My name is Jonathan Nasser. I am here actually located in Bradburn Village as well. I'm a neighbor of yours for those who live in Bradburn Village. I want to thank you for your time this evening. We're going to talk about really the mixed-use building in Bradburn, 4188 Main Street. Dan?
And I'm Dan O'Brien, architect and planner for the project with President's Design Group.
Slide 2, please, Stephanie. So today we'll quickly run through the really 4188 Main Street. That is the lot on the corner of Bradburn Village and Main Street, Bradburn Boulevard and Main Street. Roughly 0.699 of an acre, and also the Bradburn Subdivision file number 1, 10-3 plat, block 17, lot 26. That's a mouthful. And that's the parcel in the interior of block 3, behind the live work lofts and the townhomes from the south side and the east side. That's roughly 1.1 acres. The site in general is roughly 1.7, 1.8 acres as a whole. Then we're going to talk about, of course, any Q&A. Stephanie will walk you through how to ask questions as well. And then we'll go through our application presentation. And then we'll go through, of course, the concept planning and really our vision as it relates to 4188 Main Street. Anything to add, Dan?
Nope, no, I think we're good.
Number 3, Stephanie, please.
Okay, thank you. Let me just come back on here real quick. Okay, so to discuss the question and comment format so that anyone that wants to ask their questions can go ahead and do so. You type your questions or comments into the question box at any time. As you can see on your screen, this is what it looks like off to the right here. Questions will be read aloud after the presentation is concluded. Email any unrelated questions or comments to the project planner, me. And if you'd like to speak, please type "I would like to speak" into the questions box, and we will allow live speakers as time permits. Go to the next slide here. Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you again, Stephanie. So really the project team thus far, we're obviously in the beginning stages of the design, the concept planning, but also the programming. How many square feet, how many stories, what are the really the elements, the amenities of 4188. Right now, I am the developer of the site, not only 4188 Main Street, but it's our goal as well to develop the interior site that I mentioned prior, and really create that connectivity with those two sites. Make sure they're very well integrated. We'll talk more about that. Our team thus far is Steelgenics. That's my company who will really oversee the project and really just manage the day-to-day activities as well. Dan O'Brien, as he mentioned, he is the architect as well with President's Design Group. Our civil engineer is Wanrad Engineering. I know Mary for many years. have done some work with her as well. And Dan's also doing the landscape architecture as well. And our surveyor, which the site has been surveyed, is Zenith Land Surveying as well. So right now, today, we're in the relatively nascent stages of design. That is our team thus far. Next slide, please. I think is that the next slide?
Yep.
Yes, okay. Dan?
So this is just an overview, trying to, establish the big picture. But basically, when you come in off 120th on Bradburn Boulevard, the site is at the it's one block in. It's at the intersection with Main Street. It's the southeast corner.
Next slide, please. So our vision today, really the project overview, I won't read off the slide. I'll just give you an idea of what we're thinking as a whole, and Dan certainly jump in on certain data points. But again, there's really two buildings being contemplated to build. The first, that's next slide, actually the slide before, Stephanie, if you would. There, no, slide number 6.
I think she's just trying to...
Oh, there you are. Okay. Well, you're giving me a visual. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So really the overview right now, the building adjacent to Bradburn Boulevard and Main Street is roughly, today we're proposing a four-story mixed-use building to include really that main floor collaborative space, if you will. We're trying to connect the retail space with 4188 Main Street. Right now, based on 4 floors, and we have a rooftop concept as well, it's roughly 56,000 square feet as a whole. What's important to us is to really create that connectivity between Main Street, what's there now, into the Bradburn residential with the mixed-use building that not only resonates within the actual Bradburn Village, but also is offering amenities that will resonate with with those who live here, including myself. The ground level today, the intent there is to really put forward the market concept, this community gathering space on the main floor, both indoors and outdoors, that may include restaurants, retail uses. It's roughly 5,700 square feet. And we're really thinking about if any of you have been to Denver Central Market downtown, it's very much that community gathering. So elements such as a bakery, maybe a small format pub, restaurants, retail spaces, so on and so forth. And that's really the intent on the main floor. Our hope, however, is to get the feedback from the Bradburn residents and those who surround Bradburn to really get your feedback. Which amenities make sense to you? Which amenities are desired within Bradburn and outside of Bradburn? As we go to the second, third floor, again, I'm referring to the 4188 Main Street. Our vision, if you will, is to provide housing, if you will, provide really that middle, that missing middle, that as Westminster calls it, that attainable housing on the second, third floor. Our vision right now is to construct and design 48 micro condos. Again, that second, third floor, ranging between 500 and 900 square feet. And our intent here is to design these condos that feel very spacious, despite the micro element of the actual house, if you will, knowing that they're in a planned unit development, they're in a walkable area like Bradburn Village, walking to great amenities like, for example, Zen, Ted's, Whole Foods, so on and so forth. So that's the intent, is to really allow the younger generation, older generation, all generations to experience Bradburn with a price point that's attainable for most people. That would be on the second, third floor again. The fourth floor, we are putting forth roughly 7,000 plus square feet of traditional office space as well. Dan, anything to add to this?
No, the uses, the other one that comes to mind, the obvious one is, a coffee shop or something of that nature. Yeah. With the intent that it is somewhere where, you would meet up with people and it'd be a pleasant spot, that you could walk to.
That's right. So as we go up to the fifth floor, or excuse me, not the fifth floor, but the fourth floor, the rooftop of the fourth floor, again, we feel it's another great opportunity to put forth this community gathering space. We are proposing to Westminster to put forth a rooftop restaurant and bar, like a sky bar concept, not only a great viewpoint of the east side or the west side of Bradburn, but also a great viewpoint to the mountain as well. That's roughly 2,800 square feet as well. I should also mention there's roughly 57 parking spots on site on 4188 Main Street to help load the mixed-use building as well. Want to talk about the south side?
Sure. So the 4188 Main Street that Jonathan's been referring to is the mixed-use building that would run parallel to Main Street.
Stephanie?
Do you mind if I flip it to your site plan? Because I feel like it's easier for you to talk to it.
Yep,
That's a good idea.
good idea.
Stephanie, thank you.
So with this plan diagram here, you can see Main Street at the top of the building, and on the left side, you'll see Bradburn Boulevard. And the dark brown box labeled mixed-use building is the 4-story building that we're talking about that runs parallel to Main Street. And then south of that is this empty space that's in between the existing townhomes and live-work units that are there on the west side of this site. There are existing alleys that line the backs of all those buildings to provide access to those garages. Those obviously would all remain in place, and then there would be an additional connector, which is labeled as new alley on this diagram, so that you would have access to, the existing access to all the existing garages would remain as is, and another cross alley, which is kind of an extension of the alley that is on the north side of the live work buildings right now that front Bradburn Boulevard. It would just offset a little bit. So it would allow you multiple ways to get in and out of this center block area. And then the concept for the courtyard townhomes is that they would be set up on a second floor level podium so that parking could remain underneath it. And you'd have one block of townhome-like units. They'd be 2-story units, but the first floor would be on the second floor on the west side, and then one block of townhomes on the east side, and in the middle would be a landscape courtyard. So that you create this nice space in the middle of what is currently this kind of empty, field right now. So that's the concept, to make what we think is potentially a better use of that land right now that still accommodates all the existing uses surrounding it.
Yeah, let me add, thanks, Dan. And I think what's important here as well is that lots in the middle, which says or states courtyard townhomes above parking. We don't want it to be just a parking lot, if you will. I do think over the next 10 plus years, parking lots are going to be almost passe with the advent of transportation as a service model. We want to really add more value as well for the community, and that is providing 10 to 12 townhomes on the podium. I will say also, the actual homes in the mixed-use building adjacent to Main Street and Bradburn Boulevard and the interior lot, they will be condominiums. These will not be lot and block units, if you will, but we're looking at condominiums for both the mixed-use building, and the townhomes above the podium will also be condominiums as well. Below the townhome condominiums, we're going to gain roughly 52 parking spaces. So in total, the parking behind the mixed-use building and below the townhome above parking lot, if you will be roughly 109 parking spaces. We feel that's enough parking to load the full use of both lots, if you will. Slide 7, Stephanie, please. Dan, you want to go through this?
Sure. So the original master planning for this area allowed for a mix of both commercial uses and residential uses. And the residential uses included both single family, detached and attached dwellings, live work units, and also multifamily dwellings. So the uses that we're proposing really are the same kinds of uses that were planned originally for this. And the other element that we're looking to bring in that's more specific than just the general term of commercial use is this idea of the ground floor of the mixed-use building becoming this collaborative eatery and having food and drink there, and potentially some retail, but probably focus more on food and drink, so that it becomes really an extension of the existing Bradburn Boulevard commercial district that's immediately to the north of it. And similarly, it will become an extension of the commercial district that's on Main Street west of Bradburn Boulevard. So it will expand that kind of downtown area of Bradburn a little bit, so that there's a little more of a larger group of places to go, for people in the neighborhood.
Yeah, to recap the actual two buildings, we're asking for a 4-story mixed-use building and the podium behind it. I will state also, if you could actually see the next slide, the PDP site plan. For example, Noah's is a site that the developer chose to go 1-story high, although it's great volume inside of that building. They could have went 5 stories high based on the zoning. So what we're asking for to the city of Westminster is 4 stories with a rooftop bar and restaurant. Slide 8, please, Stephanie. This slide is really showing you the view corridor coming off of 120th Avenue into Bradburn Village. On your left side, you have Ted's Montana Grill, you have Zen, you have Early Bird, and the old Exchange Tavern as well. On the right side, you have T-Mobile and Bradburn Dentistry and Crafted as well. This is just a view corridor of how you come in and how the mixed-use building will project itself on the corner of Bradburn Boulevard and Main Street. Anything to add there, Dan?
And on the right-hand side, it shows the potential 5-story that was discussed at the Noah's site.
And I believe that's it, Stephanie, on our side.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to get into a little bit of the process portion of tonight's meeting, talk about that. Okay, so currently the project is in the development review process with the city. They have submitted, the applicants here tonight presenting have submitted a preliminary development plan application, and it's gone through its first review. So during the first review, or after the first review, and before the second review submittal, a neighborhood meeting is required. And so that's what the developer is here, or applicant as well, is here for you tonight. After the meeting this evening, they will also submit their second submittal, which is an additional, where we do additional staff reviews as needed. And sometimes we go through 3 or 4 additional reviews, depending on what sort of things need to be addressed on the PDP application. And then after that, we will schedule a review and consideration by the Planning Commission. Planning Commission will give a recommendation of either approval or denial, and then we will take that recommendation to the City Council hearing for the final decision as part of the PDP amendment. Should the City Council approve the PDP amendment, then we will go ahead and get the official development plan application in for review. And at that time, we'll do 1 review. It will go back to the applicant with comments, and they will hold another neighborhood meeting that will give you more information specifically to what we have on official development plans, like the site plan, the exact parking numbers, the architecture, landscape, all of those things that we take a look at, drainage, grading, when we review ODP applications. Then we'll go and get the second submittal after the neighborhood meeting, and additional staff reviews will happen after that. Generally, we have administrative approval if all criteria is met. Once that has been completed, we will have civil construction drawings and building permits that will be required to be submitted, and those will be reviewed. And additional staff reviews will happen, most likely, and then administratively approved if all criteria is met. So when taking a look at the standards of approval for amendments to preliminary development plans, what staff takes a look at is if the land use is in conformance with the comprehensive plan, if the application has sound planning principles, If exceptions from the code requirements are identified and warranted, compatibility with existing surrounding development, if there's no adverse impacts on the existing and future lands of the development, it's safe and efficient design on transportation infrastructure, includes standards to create an effective framework for future ODPs. So these are a summary of criteria that we use to evaluate. So we're going to move on to the question and comment portion of tonight's meeting. So just want to reiterate this again, just in case you came in late. You want to type your questions or comments into the question box at any time. Questions will be read aloud after the presentation has been concluded. You may email any unrelated questions or comments to me. And if you would like to speak, please type "I would like to speak" into the questions box, and we will allow live speakers as time permits. I'll put this up at the end of the presentation as well, but this is the contact information for tonight's meeting. The applicant, Dan O'Brien, the architect, is his direct contact information here, email and phone number, and my information as well. So I'll put this up at the end of the meeting again. It was also provided to you on the neighborhood mailer. So if we can go ahead and start the question session, if there's any that have come in so far.
Thanks, Stephanie. We don't have any questions in the chat, but we do have a participant by the name of Eric Goodzate, and Eric would like to speak if that's possible. Jennifer, is there a way for us to connect with Eric?
Yes, Eric, if you're ready, I will unmute your microphone, and you should be able to speak. Go ahead and try, sir.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, well, my wife has actually got the questions. We live right behind, literally, on Quitman and Main Street. So obviously we're really interested in this, but go ahead.
Okay, so I have a list of questions. My first question is, how many condos are you anticipating building?
Yes, thank you for the question. Right now, we are anticipating building 48 condos in the 4188 mixed-use building and 10 to 12 townhome condos in the interior lots as well. So a total of 58 roughly. I'll say between 50 and 60 condos as a whole.
Okay, and did you say that there would be 109 parking places?
Currently, that's correct. We accounted for 109 parking spaces.
Okay, so we figure if each unit has at least 2 people in there, they're each going to have cars. So I'm just thinking about that. And I'm also thinking about with businesses, is there going to be dumpsters behind the buildings? Do you know at this point?
The collection for recycling and trash is up adjacent to the mixed-use building on the rear side there, and that'll be an enclosed area that would take care of that function, you know, for the development.
So it's kind of behind the condos a little bit.
It's up just on the south of the south side. Yeah, where that cursor is right now.
That's right.
I don't know if you can see that. Yeah.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay. And
let me add, if I could, quick, we'll also screen wall that as well.
Yeah.
So it's not,
exposed.
you won't know it's a dumpster.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking, you know, like noise and it's good that it's covered for theft. And then as far as, you know, even in the beginning, like trash, I mean, in the front of the buildings, like now, you know, the trash cans by crafted, and I mean, quite often people dump dog poop and food and they're overflowing. And have you thought about placement for those, or will there be dog poop cans? So these are just concerns that I'm thinking, smell, unsightly mess. And then the alley use for construction, not only for construction, but for traffic, who would be in charge of maintaining the alley or all of the alleys? Like after construction, if there's damage to the alleys, and then with the increased traffic use.
Let me address the first question, which is very good, a very good question. Obviously, having trash cans in the right of way on the sidewalks, which would be west of the mixed use building and north of the mixed use building, I think makes good sense. I also live on Quitman. I also am a dog lover, so having areas to dispose the dog poo, if you will be contemplated as well, which is pretty consistent with Bradburn as a whole. You want to talk about alley use, Dan?
Sure. The maintenance on the alleys, I'm sure will be part of a discussion that will be, next steps in our review with the city. But my expectation is that those are private alleys, so it'll be maintained by the private property owners. In this case, I think there's a portion of the alley that's part of the property with the townhomes and live work units, and then a portion of it that would be part of this development. I'd have to look at the survey to see exactly how it's split, but my expectation is that it's not a public right of way. It's a private alley, so that it would be maintained by the private property owners.
I will add to that as well that we're not far enough, to Dan's point, we're not far enough yet to determine who's maintaining the alleys, both on the west side, south side, and the east side. They are today utility access easements today, and I think naturally it makes sense for the HOA to maintain those alleys, but again, we're not that far just yet.
Okay. And then as far as food or beverage deliveries, I assume those will come through the alley.
Absolutely, yes, that's correct. So all service delivery would come through the access points behind really between the mixed use building and the courtyard townhomes above parking structure.
Okay, and then if there's restaurants or bars will there be a noise control? I mean, we did have one with the Exchange.
Yeah, of course, we will, of course, abide by the decibel level. I don't think we'll need a variance. We are doing a project as well in Broomfield that this came up. And for example, the rooftop deck has to be closed at a certain time to minimize noise as well. But we have to be very sensitive to the noise levels, knowing, given the fact that we have many residents around us.
And again, that's an issue that I'm sure we'll be discussing with the city, as part of the next steps in the process.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you know who the management company, like, will you fall in with the live work lofts now, or would it be the Bradburn townhomes? Would it be, your own separate?
Yeah, we're not that far yet. It's a great question, but we do not have an answer today.
Okay. And I guess I'm finished, except for my biggest concern is just the field that has been used for staging for landscaping and other projects.
Sure.
The alley has suffered greatly from that. So I can imagine with heavy construction, there might need to be a new alley. And
what's typical with developments of this nature is you do end up having to do work on those surrounding drives, and I suspect that'll be the case here as well.
Well, I know the alleys very, very well. It's another good point. And the last one in, if you will, from a development perspective, will be us. And I assure you the alleys, again, east, south, and west will be replaced, especially the west side is pretty bad. So we certainly acknowledge that.
Okay. And I finished, and I guess now Eric.
Yeah, Eric, and I just want to throw out, my wife here moved in before, and we really enjoyed the open field which is now a dog park. So you'll have a lot of cleanup. That's why I guess a lot of those questions. But you know, the big commercial building, I mean, was really not what was expected. And the Main Street traffic and parking around equipment and us, I mean, you have a school right across the street. And with the apartments to the east, there's a lot of traffic that goes through there. And so by adding this, I'm just concerned that it won't support the all the traffic. You know, the city needs to do something to actually put stopping marks and crosswalks. You know, I think only one person's been hit in you know, Bradburn and Main Street. So I think the city needs to step up and do some traffic control measures. But it's like a speedway through here and on Main Street, going to the apartments and things like that. And for us who live here, trying to get in and out of the alley, that's now going to be a commercial thing with an extra 100 and some cars. That's, you know, a really big concern. Also, you know, when the townhome people have visitors, where are they going? I see the little spots there, but, you know, I can't even park in front of my unit because the apartment people are parking, you know, on Quitman. So I don't know. I mean, that for me, having a 5-story is just huge. And then having all this extra traffic and everything, that's really a concern for me on that. I think it's going to overload. Plus, we can't even get a restaurant in the Exchange. You know, I mean, I don't know how we can support that.
And how would we support the project during, you know, if we end up in a recession with shortage, you know, with supply shortages now with building, and what's your anticipation or expectation for the length of time for the entire project?
Yeah, there's a litany of questions there. Let me try to unpack them if I can. So we certainly are very cognizant of the traffic. I will say, as a whole, somebody who lives here, somebody who's had a loft in Bradburn Village since 2001. I know this community very well. I'm a big fan of it. But I personally bought into this new urban concept. I personally bought into high density, walkable, pedestrian friendly, walking to bars and restaurants, Whole Foods as well. And it's also an element for the city, which is wonderful, I think, for someone like the city of Westminster to have the vision to drive density as well. So what we're proposing here, we don't think it's uncommon. It does increase density. It does put more pressure on traffic and parking. We certainly acknowledge that. And by the way, we're proposing a 4-story building, not 5, as well. But I think that's very important to understand is that I think we all who live here, we all bought into this concept of new urbanism. Really just a good middle ground between someplace like Denver or suburbia. And frankly, I think Bradburn certainly provides that kind of lifestyle for those who live there. In terms of the restaurant, the Exchange, I'll address that as well. I think that's a product of the landlord charging an exorbitant amount of money for rents. It's a very desirable space. I, like you, wish something was there. Having vacancy is not great, and I think the community will support a restaurant or a bar or something else. But I think that's a byproduct of a big company who owns that property, Crocky, who is asking top dollar. That's why the Exchange Tavern left. That's why Dugan's couldn't survive. So that's also very, very important to note. Listen, obviously there's a lot of climate out there in terms of recession, inflation, Eastern Europe. I mean, I'm a developer, and certainly my partner on the phone is on as well, who understands the market very, very well. We take on that risk, but I will say, you know, we will not break ground until we have the proper funding and financing and the approval of Westminster. We're not going to start the project until we're ready to start, and not put ourselves or the community in harm's way as a whole. So that's always risky, developing, if you will. That's why we, for example, and I don't want to get into too much detail, but for example, in the mixed-use building, we'll have a phase 1 and a phase 2 that's connected to ensure that we are mitigating risk if some calamity takes place that we can't control as well. So we are certainly thinking about contingency planning and ensuring that, once we start, we have the ability to gracefully finish despite the climate.
Okay, and then with that, I moved in 2007, and I moved in for the urban environment, but we were told at that time it would be a 3-story. It wouldn't be any higher than the lofts, the work lift lofts. So 4 floors plus a rooftop is essentially 5 floors. And then also, sorry, I have a neighbor texting. Is there a model, or will there be a model at the city or something of this that we can see?
I think the best thing we could do, Dan, is 3D modeling, more of a 3D virtual model, but having a physical model at the city is something we have not contemplated, but certainly a 3D virtual model we will provide.
The next step in the city's process is referred to as the ODP review. And that review requires a substantial higher level of detail than what is currently, completed for the project. So there will be a lot more information in the next step here.
Yeah.
Okay, and at this point, do you know price point on condos?
We do not. Obviously, your point's a very good point around the volatility of pricing. The supply chain is no doubt being compressed, so we're not going to venture the guess. But our goal on the micro condos in the mixed-use building and the townhome condos is, well, I'll just speak for the micro condos in the mixed-use building. We want to be in the 3s. Again, we want to really hit this missing middle. We want to really provide that attainable housing, if you will. But that is our goal, is to be in the 3s.
And townhomes, any idea?
I'd say probably, again, don't quote me on this. I mean, we're far from breaking ground. Again, we want that to be attainable, probably in the 4s. Again, but that's not confirmed, and we're not even through schematic design yet. So until we have high resolution plans, once we get through our design development and construction drawings, getting solid bids and understanding costs is more downstream.
Okay, thank you.
Good questions, though. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Likewise.
Okay, folks, I don't see any questions in the chat. If anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in, or if you would like to speak, like the last participant, please type into the chat that you would like to speak. We'll give it a few more minutes, and if no one has any further questions, we'll start to close the meeting.
I'd like to say just again, to reiterate, I put the contact information up on the screen. So if you don't feel like you have your questions ready right now and you need a little bit of time to absorb what was presented to you tonight, please feel free to send me any questions that you might have, or the applicant as well. Most of the questions that I will get, I will forward on to them as well. And if they get some, they will copy me, so we're all in the loop about the concerns or questions that the residents might have this evening. So I just wanted to go ahead and keep this up here. And also the YouTube recording link is here as well. So, should you want to look at it again, you are more than welcome to do that. And we also have the development status webpage, which gives a little bit more, some information on the project. Not any of the images really that you've seen today, but again, the presentation is available on YouTube, so you can use that. And I have the PDF here with me as well. I'm the one flipping through these images, so I can send that along too, if need be.
All right, Ms. Ashman and our applicant team, we still do not have any more questions in the chat. So I think we should begin to think about closing the meeting to avoid additional awkward silence. So
Thank you for that.
I know, it's really fun sitting in front of the camera, just like,
Let me, if I can, in closing, to you, Stephanie, thank you very much for facilitating. We greatly appreciate it. And to the city of Westminster for considering such project in Bradburn Village. I want to thank those who attended tonight and the questions. It's great feedback, so thank you.
yes, thank you. And as we get through this process, real quick, Cato, sorry, as we get through this process, we will be going to public hearing for this. So there's another opportunity for you to be engaged as citizens and either watch virtually or attend that public hearing when it's scheduled. Cato, would you like to say something?
I was just saying thank you, Stephanie, and well done, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Good night.
Have a good evening.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.